It was a gray, overcast morning when Emma Carlyle returned to her family home in the quiet outskirts of Boston. The rain had left the sidewalks glistening, and the old Victorian house, with its peeling paint and creaking shutters, seemed almost alive, whispering the secrets of generations past. Emma had always loved this house as a child. It was her playground, her sanctuary, a place where her imagination ran wild. But after decades of absence, the home now felt foreign, its familiar corridors stretched with shadows, the past lurking in every corner. She wasn't here to reminisce, though. She was here on a mission. A mission that had been set in motion by a single, mysterious photograph discovered tucked away in the pages of a dusty ledger she found in her late grandmother's attic. The photograph was small, black and white, faded around the edges, and bore no inscription other than a date scrawled in careful cursive, June 1923. In the photograph, a young woman stood outside the same house Emma now walked through, holding an envelope in her hands. Her face was partially hidden by the wide-brimmed hat of the era, and her eyes seemed to peer directly into the camera, or perhaps into the future. There was something unsettling about the gaze, a quiet intensity that made Emma shiver. Her grandmother had always been a private woman, known for her meticulous diary entries and an almost obsessive record-keeping of the family's history. Emma had grown up listening to stories about distant relatives, secrets hidden in drawers, and letters that never reached their recipients. But she had never imagined that these whispered tales could be real. Not until this photograph appeared. The discovery. Emma spread the photograph across the dining table, its surface catching the faint morning light filtering through the curtains. She turned it over, inspecting every detail, the fold of the envelope, the subtle crease where someone had held it tightly, the faint shadow of a handprint. "Who are you?" she whispered to herself. Her grandmother had passed away just a year ago, leaving behind a trove of letters, journals, and old family documents. Most of it had seemed mundane at first glance, lists of names, payments, property deeds. But this photograph, so carefully hidden, was different. It felt like a message, intentionally preserved, waiting for someone to find it. Emma ran her fingers over the edges of the photo. She could almost feel the presence of the woman in it, as if the image contained a fragment of a soul trapped in time. Unraveling the first clues. Over the next few days, Emma combed through the family archives. She found mentions of a woman named Clara Whitmore, a relative who had mysteriously vanished in the summer of 1923, the same year marked on the photograph. According to the journals, Clara had been engaged to a prominent lawyer, Edward Carlyle, Emma's great-uncle, but she had disappeared without a trace just weeks before the wedding. No letters, no notes, nothing. Only rumors. Some said she ran away to escape an arranged marriage. Others whispered of a scandal, a forbidden love, or a betrayal so severe that it had been erased from the family records. Emma's heart raced as she pieced together the timeline. If the photograph was from June 1923, Clara must have been captured in it just days before her disappearance. But why had her grandmother kept it hidden for so many years? And why had she labeled it in such an ordinary way, leaving no context at all? The envelope. Emma carefully opened the envelope that had accompanied the photograph. Inside was a folded note written in delicate, looping handwriting. The words were few but chilling. "If you are reading this, know that not everything is as it seems. Look beyond the walls of this house, and you will find the truth that others sought to hide." A chill ran down Emma's spine. She looked around the house, half expecting someone, or something, to be watching. But the house was empty, silent except for the occasional groan of settling wood. The note suggested a secret hidden within the very walls of the house. Perhaps behind a panel, a floorboard, or in the attic. But Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this was bigger than a hidden compartment. The words carried a weight, a warning, as though the writer had known the danger of discovery. First night, the haunting. That night, as the rain turned into a gentle drizzle, Emma stayed in the old house, hoping to sleep but finding no peace. Every creak of the floor, every whisper of wine through the shutters felt like the house itself was speaking, guiding her, or perhaps warning her. She pulled the photograph close, examining it under the flickering candlelight. Shadows from the flame danced across the image, and for a moment, she swore the woman in the photo had shifted, her hat tilting slightly as though acknowledging Emma's presence. Emma shook her head. "I'm imagining things," she murmured. Yet the feeling persisted, a tension in the air, a sense of being observed. She realized that this photograph was more than a memory. It was a key. A key to a story her family had kept buried for nearly a century. And it would be up to her to uncover it, piece by piece. The next morning, unearthing clues. The following morning, Emma began searching the attic more thoroughly. Dust coated every surface, and cobwebs hung like curtains in the corners. She carefully moved boxes, books, and old trunks, revealing the hidden architecture of her grandmother's secret hoarding. Behind a false panel in the wall, she found a small metal box. Inside were letters, diaries, and photographs, dozens of them, all meticulously catalogued. Most were mundane, receipts, notes, holiday pictures. But a few stood out. A letter addressed to Clara Whitmore, unopened. A torn photograph of a man whose face was obscured. A tiny key, tarnished with age. Emma held the key in her hand, feeling its cold weight. Something about it felt alive, as if it were waiting for her to use it. She wondered what it would unlock, and why her grandmother had kept it hidden from everyone else. The first puzzle piece. By midday, Emma had pieced together the first few fragments of the mystery. Clara Whitmore disappeared in 1923. A hidden envelope with a warning note. A collection of letters and a small, mysterious key. She knew that discovering the full story would not be simple. There would be obstacles, missing records, silent witnesses, and the passage of nearly a century. But one thing was certain, the photograph was the starting point. The woman in it had left a message that had endured for decades, and it was now Emma's task to follow its trail, step by step, room by room, letter by letter. The hidden photograph was not just an image. It was an invitation into a labyrinth of secrets, lies, and revelations, a mystery that demanded to be solved. Cliffhanger ending, Part 1. As Emma held the photograph once more, she noticed something she hadn't before, a faint mark on the corner of the image, barely visible. It looked like a map of sorts, tiny lines forming a pattern that could indicate a location. Her heart pounded. The house, once a place of childhood wonder, had now become a puzzle. And Emma knew that what she would uncover in the coming days could change her family's history forever. The hidden photograph was only the beginning. Emma Carlyle clutched the tiny, tarnished key in her hand, feeling its weight press against her palm. It was astonishing how something so small could hold so much history, and so many secrets. The morning light filtered weakly through the attic windows, illuminating dust particles that danced in the air like tiny ghosts. She took a deep breath, knowing the discovery of this key was the first tangible clue toward unraveling her family's decades-old mystery. The letters begin to speak. Emma carefully opened the letters she had found behind the false wall. The first few were mundane, brief notes about household chores, reminders of birthdays, and financial records. But then she found one that stood out. It was addressed to Clara Whitmore, written by a mysterious hand in 1923. If they find this, you will understand. Trust only the photograph, and do not follow the path they have chosen for you. The house remembers, and it will guide you. Emma's eyes widened. The handwriting was elegant, flowing, almost hypnotic. There was a rhythm to it, a sense of urgency and secrecy. It was as though Clara herself, or someone close to her, had intended for this message to survive for decades, awaiting discovery by the right person. Emma looked around the attic. The house seemed quieter now, almost expectant, as if it were holding its breath. She felt a shiver run down her spine. This was no ordinary family secret. This was something deeper, more dangerous, something that had been hidden for a reason. Tracing the past. Determined to understand, Emma began tracing Clara Whitmore's last known movements. She visited the local historical society, combed through city archives, and studied old maps of Boston neighborhoods from the 1920s. Clara had vanished from public life in 1923, just weeks after a lavish family gathering at the Carlisle estate. According to old letters and newspaper clippings, Clara had been engaged to Edward Carlisle, a young lawyer known for his charm and ambition. Yet, there were hints of tension, whispered disagreements over inheritance, secret meetings with unknown associates, and mentions of hidden truths in her personal diary, which was now lost to time. Emma realized that the photograph she had discovered wasn't just a random image. It captured a moment just before Clara disappeared, a snapshot of a life about to collide with secrets far greater than anyone imagined. The keyhole mystery. Emma turned her attention back to the small metal key. Its shape was unusual, intricate even, with fine engravings along the shaft. She examined the house, inspecting every door, drawer, and lock in the old Carlisle home. Hours passed. The attic, kitchen, and hallway offered no clues. It wasn't until she reached the study, a room her grandmother had forbidden her to enter as a child, that she noticed something peculiar. A small, almost invisible keyhole, tucked behind a faded curtain, set into the wooden paneling near the fireplace. Emma's heart raced. Could this key unlock something that had been sealed for nearly a century? With trembling hands, she inserted the key. It fit perfectly. She turned it slowly, feeling a click, then heard the faint creak of a hidden door sliding open. The hidden compartment. Inside the hidden compartment was a treasure trove of historical documents. Several small journals with leather covers. Bundles of letters tied with ribbon. Faded photographs of unknown individuals. A small, locked box, smaller than the first key. Emma picked up the journals and began flipping through them. The entries detailed family gatherings, social events, and daily life. But gradually, the tone shifted. The handwriting became hurried, sometimes frantic. There were references to clandestine meetings, unexplained disappearances, and veiled threats. One entry caught Emma's eye. They cannot know. If the photograph is revealed, all will be lost. I must protect her and the truth at all costs. Even if it means leaving no trace of myself behind. Emma paused. Who wrote this? She whispered. The urgency and secrecy implied that someone had risked everything to keep a hidden story alive, a story that had been buried for generations. A family secret unfolds. As she sifted through the documents, Emma began to piece together a story that had been kept from the family. Clara Whitmore had been entangled in a scandal involving a prominent local figure, a man whose reputation, power, and influence could destroy lives. The photograph, the letters, and the hidden journals were all part of a carefully constructed plan to preserve evidence of wrongdoing. It became clear, the photograph was not merely a memory. It was a signal, a guide, a warning. It pointed to secrets so significant that her grandmother and Clara had taken extraordinary measures to protect them, even if it meant erasing themselves from history. A threat from the past. Emma noticed something else. Some of the letters contained veiled threats, subtle warnings about what could happen if the information were discovered. They will come for you if you pursue this. Trust no one outside our circle. Even allies may betray you. A shiver ran down her spine. The message was clear, uncovering these secrets carried real danger. Even decades later, the story had power. It wasn't just a family secret, it was a story someone had tried to bury forever. Emma looked at the photograph again. The woman's eyes seemed alive now, guiding her, imploring her to continue, to uncover the truth that had been hidden for generations. Over the next few days, Emma continued to investigate. Using the journals as guides, she began visiting old locations around Boston mentioned in the entries. An abandoned carriage house by the river. A secluded garden behind the old Whitmore estate. A private study in a historic library. At each location, she found small but significant clues, initials carved into trees, faded ink markings on stone steps, and cryptic messages hidden within architectural details. The clues seemed deliberately placed, as though someone in the past had known exactly who would eventually follow them. Each discovery brought her closer to understanding Clara's disappearance, but also deeper into a maze of danger, deceit, and unresolved mysteries. Cliffhanger Ending, Part 2. One evening, as dusk settled over the city, Emma returned to the Carlisle estate. She noticed a flickering light in the study, though she had turned everything off before leaving. Cautiously, she approached. The small box she had found in a hidden compartment earlier now sat on the desk, unlocked, as though inviting her to open it. Inside was a single, folded piece of paper, yellowed with age. It bore a message in handwriting she didn't recognize. If you have reached this point, you are closer than anyone has been in 100 years. But beware, some truths are guarded by those who will do anything to keep them hidden. Emma's hands shook. She felt the weight of the past pressing on her shoulders. The photograph, the letters, the journals, they were all just the beginning. The real story, the one her grandmother had protected at all costs, was waiting to be revealed. And Emma knew one thing for certain: once she opened that final envelope, there would be no turning back. The storm outside had grown heavier. Rain pounded against the windows of the Carlisle estate, and the wind moaned through the creaking eaves like a chorus of whispers from the past. Emma sat at the study desk, staring at the yellowed note she had discovered at the end of Part 2. Her fingers traced the edges, hesitant to unfold it completely, as if fearing the secrets it might reveal. The handwriting was unfamiliar, sharp, and deliberate. Some truths are guarded by those who will do anything to keep them hidden. Trust only what the photograph has shown you. Look beyond the obvious. Emma's pulse quickened. It seemed impossible that a piece of paper could carry such weight, yet she felt it as a tangible force pressing down on her. The photograph, the key, the letters, they were all intertwined. Each discovery led her deeper into a web of mystery, spanning decades, stretching beyond her family, touching lives she could barely imagine. The Journal of Secrets. Emma opened one of the leather-bound journals she had found in the attic. Its pages were filled with meticulous notes, but hidden among the mundane entries were references to a clandestine network, meetings, coded messages, and references to individuals who seemed almost spectral in their secrecy. One particular entry caught her attention. The photograph must remain hidden. Edward cannot know what is in the letters. The alliance is fragile, and betrayal is inevitable. Trust is dangerous. Emma's mind raced. Edward Carlisle, her great-uncle, the man Clara was supposed to marry, was now central to this hidden network. But who else was involved? The text implied a circle of people, bound together by secrecy, some perhaps still alive, their identities obscured by time. The more she read, the more Emma realized that the story wasn't just about a missing woman. It was about a network of alliances, hidden loyalties, and power dynamics that shaped her family's history and perhaps even the fate of the city around them. Determined to uncover more, Emma decided to follow the trail of the network mentioned in the journals. She visited the local library, poring over archived newspapers, old city directories, and letters preserved in special collections. In the archives, she discovered references to Clara Whitmore attending discreet meetings with influential figures in Boston's high society. The notes hinted at conflicts over inheritance, political influence, and long-standing grudges. There were subtle hints that Clara had discovered information threatening enough to endanger her life. And then she found something else, a name that stood out: Margaret Lowell, a family friend whose presence had been unremarkable in the journals until now. But multiple references indicated that Margaret had played a crucial role in concealing letters, hiding documents, and perhaps even manipulating who knew what. Emma's curiosity deepened. The photograph was only one piece of a much larger puzzle. Each person, each document, and each hidden compartment seemed to connect to a broader story, one that her grandmother had painstakingly protected. Shadows of the past. That evening, as Emma walked the corridors of the old house, she felt the weight of history pressing down on her. The halls seemed alive with whispers of the past. She imagined Clara Whitmore pacing these same floors, holding letters that could alter destinies, and Edward Carlyle, unaware of the depth of the secret web around him. Emma began to map the connections on a large board in the study, using string to link names, dates, and locations. The web was complex, spanning decades and intertwining with people she had never heard of. Each thread represented trust, betrayal, and fear. The photograph, she realized, was the central node. Every path she followed seemed to trace back to that single moment frozen in time, that woman with eyes that seemed to see beyond her century. Unexpected revelation. Days passed as Emma dove deeper into the mystery. Late one night, she discovered a hidden envelope tucked behind the panel of a bookcase, a clever disguise, likely designed to remain undisturbed for decades. Inside was a letter, written in the same flowing script as the first note, but with a tone of desperation. They are watching. The alliance cannot be broken, yet the truth must be preserved. Only one who understands the photograph can navigate this safely. Emma's breath caught. Watching. The note implied surveillance, even after so many years. Could the secrets her family had tried to protect still be guarded by those who feared exposure? Or was this a warning left in advance, anticipating future discovery? The line between past and present blurred. Emma felt herself standing at the crossroads of history, where uncovering the truth could be both illuminating and dangerous. Pursuing the hidden locations. The journals provided further guidance. There were references to secret rooms, garden structures, and locations in the city where sensitive documents had been stored. Emma decided to investigate, starting with the oldest site, the carriage house along the river, abandoned for decades. Inside, she discovered remnants of the past, dusty ledgers, broken furniture, and small, hidden boxes containing photographs, notes, and keys similar to the ones she had already found. Each item added a piece to the puzzle, revealing not just Clara's disappearance but the intricate network of alliances that had protected, or trapped, her. It was becoming clear that Clara Whitmore had been far more than a missing bride. She had been a guardian of secrets, someone who understood power, loyalty, and danger in ways Emma could barely comprehend. And now, Emma was stepping into that same role, whether she wanted to or not. Cliffhanger Ending, Part 3. Emma carefully opened a photograph she had just found in one of the boxes. It depicted a clandestine meeting, a group of people, faces partially obscured, gathered under the cover of night. Late one night, she discovered a hidden envelope tucked behind the panel of a bookcase, a clever disguise, likely designed to remain undisturbed for decades. Inside was a letter, written in the same flowing script as the first note, but with a tone of desperation. They are watching. The alliance cannot be broken, yet the truth must be preserved. Only one who understands the photograph can navigate this safely. Emma's breath caught. Watching. The note implied surveillance, even after so many years. Could the secrets her family had tried to protect still be guarded by those who feared exposure? Or was this a warning left in advance, anticipating future discovery? The line between past and present blurred. Emma felt herself standing at the crossroads of history, where uncovering the truth could be both illuminating and dangerous. Pursuing the hidden locations. The journals provided further guidance. There were references to secret rooms, garden structures, and locations in the city where sensitive documents had been stored. Emma decided to investigate, starting with the oldest site, the carriage house along the river, abandoned for decades. Inside, she discovered remnants of the past, dusty ledgers, broken furniture, and small, hidden boxes containing photographs, notes, and keys similar to the ones she had already found. Each item added a piece to the puzzle, revealing not just Clara's disappearance but the intricate network of alliances that had protected, or trapped, her. It was becoming clear that Clara Whitmore had been far more than a missing bride. She had been a guardian of secrets, someone who understood power, loyalty, and danger in ways Emma could barely comprehend. And now, Emma was stepping into that same role, whether she wanted to or not. Cliffhanger Ending, Part 3. Emma carefully opened a photograph she had just found in one of the boxes. It depicted a clandestine meeting, a group of people, faces partially obscured, gathered under the cover of night. At the center stood a woman unmistakably resembling Clara. But one figure caught Emma's attention, a man whose face was sharp, angular, and commanding, standing slightly apart from the rest. There was an intensity in his gaze, and in the photograph's shadows, Emma could feel that he held the key to all that had transpired. Suddenly, a loud creak echoed from upstairs, startling her. The house felt alive again, as though it were aware of her intrusion, aware of her pursuit. Emma's pulse quickened. The past was no longer dormant. The secrets of the hidden photograph, the letters, and the alliances were converging, and she had only begun to scratch the surface. The storm outside had finally begun to subside, leaving the streets slick and reflective with the remnants of rain. Emma stood in the study, surrounded by the accumulated evidence she had uncovered so far, photographs, letters, journals, and the tiny key that had unlocked the hidden compartments in her family home. Every item seemed to hum with the weight of history, the secrets of generations pressing down on her. Her mind raced with questions. Who was the mysterious man in the photograph she had discovered in Part 3? How deep did Clara Whitmore's alliances go, and what had forced her to vanish so suddenly in 1923? The house seemed to hold its breath, as if urging her to continue. Unearthing the final key. Emma turned her attention back to the small locked box she had found hidden behind the bookcase. Unlike the other boxes, this one had a unique lock, one that did not match any of the keys she had previously discovered. Her eyes scanned the journals for hints, and finally, tucked in a corner of an old diary, she found a sketch of a key, not just a simple shape, but with intricate symbols engraved along its shaft. Could this sketch correspond to the final key? Emma felt a shiver of anticipation. She searched the house, focusing on drawers, cabinets, and hidden nooks she had overlooked before. Hours later, behind a loose panel in the library wall, she discovered it, a small, brass key with engravings that matched the sketch perfectly. Her hands trembled as she inserted the key into the lock. The box clicked open, revealing a collection of letters, photographs, and a small envelope sealed with red wax. The letters that changed everything. Emma carefully broke the wax seal. Inside was a series of letters, written over decades, detailing a conspiracy she had never imagined. The letters revealed that Clara Whitmore had discovered corruption among influential families in Boston, people who had gone to extreme lengths to protect their reputations. The storm outside had finally begun to subside, leaving the streets slick and reflective with the remnants of rain. Emma stood in the study, surrounded by the accumulated evidence she had uncovered so far, photographs, letters, journals, and the tiny key that had unlocked the hidden compartments in her family home. Every item seemed to hum with the weight of history, the secrets of generations pressing down on her. Her mind raced with questions. Who was the mysterious man in the photograph she had discovered in Part 3? How deep did Clara Whitmore's alliances go, and what had forced her to vanish so suddenly in 1923? The house seemed to hold its breath, as if urging her to continue. Unearthing the final key. Emma turned her attention back to the small locked box she had found hidden behind the bookcase. Unlike the other boxes, this one had a unique lock, one that did not match any of the keys she had previously discovered. Her eyes scanned the journals for hints, and finally, tucked in a corner of an old diary, she found a sketch of a key, not just a simple shape, but with intricate symbols engraved along its shaft. Could this sketch correspond to the final key? Emma felt a shiver of anticipation. She searched the house, focusing on drawers, cabinets, and hidden nooks she had overlooked before. Hours later, behind a loose panel in the library wall, she discovered it, a small, brass key with engravings that matched the sketch perfectly. Her hands trembled as she inserted the key into the lock. The box clicked open, revealing a collection of letters, photographs, and a small envelope sealed with red wax. The letters that changed everything. Emma carefully broke the wax seal. Inside was a series of letters, written over decades, detailing a conspiracy she had never imagined. The letters revealed that Clara Whitmore had discovered corruption among influential families in Boston, people who had gone to extreme lengths to protect their reputations. Some of the letters even implicated Edward Carlyle, her fiancé, suggesting that he had been coerced into silence by threats of ruin. But the most shocking revelation came in a single letter, written directly to Clara. Trust no one but yourself. They will manipulate, deceive, and threaten, but the truth will survive through those brave enough to uncover it. Remember, the photograph is your guide. Follow it, and you will see everything. Emma's heart pounded. The photograph was more than a clue, it was a map, a guide to the hidden truths that had been buried for nearly a century. A family secret exposed. The letters painted a vivid picture of a network of hidden alliances and betrayals. Clara had been protecting knowledge that could have toppled powerful figures, both within her family and the city at large. The photograph, the letters, and the hidden boxes